This is Larry the Barber Man, and today I am with Tyler Trotter, a recently licensed master barber. And today I'm interviewing Tyler because I think that he has a very interesting, inspirational story to tell of what barbering has actually done for his troubled life previously. So Tyler, thank you for taking the time. It was very random. We met each other yesterday at the Major League Barber Battle, and we just decided off the cuff that we're going to do an interview. And yes, by all accounts, you've got a really interesting story to tell, which I think could help people that are in a similar position to that you were in. Yeah, so tell me your story before barbering. What kinds of trouble did you find yourself in?
Well, first of all, thank you for the opportunity. I'm very grateful for an opportunity to be able to sit with you. I found myself in a lot of trouble. I really found myself in a hopeless and desperate place. A lot of it had to do with drug addiction. A lot of it had to do with irresponsible choices that I'd made for my life. And I found myself penniless, homeless. I'd lost my children to Child Protective Services. I was arrested because I robbed a pharmacy so I could get drugs because I was in withdrawal. I served a year, locked up 23 hours a day. And it was all because of my choices, because of my drug addiction. I literally lost everything that was important to me, most importantly myself. I lost my sense of self. I lost my respect for myself. I literally had no idea who I was because I had become somebody that I wasn't.
Okay, so kind of walk me through how you picked yourself up from this, desperate situation, if you like.
So pain is a really good teacher. Pain is a really good motivator. So after 26 years of constant contradiction and confusion in my life, just wanting to do one thing, wanting to be like everybody else, wanting to have a life like everyone else, but I couldn't stop using drugs. When I got arrested and I was locked up for that long, I got out and I didn't immediately stop using drugs. It was actually when I used one more time after that desperation took over. There was a point where I had a decision to make. I was willing to go to prison for the rest of my life. I decided I can't do this. I don't know how to get a job. I don't know how to keep a job. I don't know how to pay bills. I don't know how to do anything. And I was ready to give up. I said, I'm going to make one more phone call. And I prayed, and I told God, I said, if you're going to do something with my life, I'm going to make a phone call for one of these help centers in a phone book. Have somebody answer this phone, get me help. I need help, and if I don't get help, all bets are off.
Okay, so barbering, what ended up on the end of that line that led you to barbering?
Well, I started in a recovery journey, going to different meetings and talking to other recovering addicts who knew how to, do basic life skills. And then as a result of a 12-step program and practicing the steps, the principles in my life, and actually applying them to my life, I started to learn who I was, and I was able to start believing in myself more. And once I found out who I was, I found out that I was extremely ambitious. I had a desire to be successful in life. I had a desire to be a great husband and a great father and all these things. And so I started trying different things. I was a good painter by trade, but I didn't like labor work. I wasn't afraid of it, I just didn't want to do it for my life. Then I decided that I would go be a counselor at a treatment center. I wanted to work with young adults because I wanted to be able to help people that had been in a position that I had been in. So I did that for a year, and it was fantastic. By this time I have my wife back. I have a new daughter. When I'm at the treatment center, my wife is pregnant with my daughter. I have my other 2 children back in my life, and when she got pregnant with my new daughter, the insurance situations, the schedule situations, and the financial situation wasn't going to allow me to continue working at the treatment center. So we decided that it was best for me to become a stay-at-home dad. So I was a stay-at-home dad for around 6 or 7 months, and one of the things that I do is I cut my son's hair, and that was always something that was really special to me. It was a moment of nurturing for my son. When I cut his hair, I couldn't really put my finger on it, but it was just something that was special to me. And one day he asked me, when we do my haircut today, can I have a faux hawk? And I told him, son, I don't know how to do a faux hawk. So I gave him a mohawk, And I sent him on his way, and he was just as happy as he could be with the mohawk than the faux hawk. He didn't know the difference. But there was a little thing inside that I'd gotten in touch with in recovery, and that was my conscience. Or, I believe that God speaks to me through my conscience. And so by listening to that little thing, it said, I wish I could have gave him that faux hawk. I wish I could cut his hair like he wanted it to be cut. So I went on YouTube, and I started looking at different haircut videos. I started looking at, different techniques and stuff like that. And what I found is that after I watched the faux hawk video, I wanted to watch the bald fade video. And after I watched the bald fade video, I wanted to watch the other haircut video. And then I started thinking about, well, that looks fun. The lifestyle looks good. It seems like I would enjoy being a barber. So then I start looking at barber lifestyle type videos. And I found some barbers who were in school. There was just a couple. There wasn't a lot of student barbers on YouTube. But when I watched these student barber journeys, I got excited, and this passion and this ambition just started snowballing inside me. So I checked into the school, found out how much it cost to go to school, talked to some people. They told me where I could go apply for government funding, and every time I stepped through another door, I found that my ambition and my passion grew, and that the provision for the next step was already in place. So after I went to the student funding and some diagnoses that I had when I was in active addiction, I had $12,000 worth of schooling paid for, 100%. My father loaned me $1,100 to get my student kit. The state granted me exactly $1,100 over. So when I finished school, they wrote me a check for $1,100, which I used to pay my father back. So it was really divine in nature, the way that I got into the barbering thing. And I'm very glad that I was listening to that little voice inside, because it's everything I ever dreamed of.
So I've interviewed Christopher Burke, and he spoke about you in our interview, which was March 2016, as an exceptional mentee. Tell me how you managed to hook up with Chris and what he actually did to aid you in your journey to becoming a qualified master barber.
Sure. Well, I met Christopher Burke in the Barber Society, which he's the commissioner or the administrator of the Barber Society, which means he's a leader. He has a great deal of information. And just like everybody else on these YouTube channels, on these Instagram accounts, there was nobody that was off limits to me. If I could find your contact information and I had a question for you, I'm finding you. I'm going to ask you the question. And I was able to see, like, some people responded, some people didn't. But those that responded, I continued and I developed those relationships. And Christopher Burke was one of those people that not only answered my question, I was a sponge for information, and he filled that hole, that yearning for knowledge. He gave me more information than I was ready for, and there wasn't a lot of people that can do that. He showed me how to hold a set of clippers in a comments thread by taking pictures. And so him being a busy man, and me just being a student, there was 9,000 members in the Barber Society. So for him to take the time to show me these things, I valued his time, and I didn't want it to go to waste. And then we connected on a personal level, and it was just beautiful how the relationship evolved. And I started to understand the importance, because in active addiction and in recovery, I had to find somebody who knew how to be successful, because that's the only person that I could identify with. So when I found somebody that could show me how to do better, I did what they did, and I was able to experience some of the same results they did. I did the same thing in barbering. I found somebody who had experienced success in the particular area that I wanted to have success in, and I followed that, and I chased it, and I pursued it. And then when they told me to do something, for instance, like when he would give me an advice or a suggestion that I didn't like the way that it felt, or I didn't want to do it, I did it anyway. And that's what I'm finding about growth and change and mentorship in general, is that in order to be successful, I have to listen to the people who have already obtained success. And I need to do the things that they're telling me to do, or the things that they're sharing with me that they did. And Chris, man, he has never stopped helping me in my personal life, in the barbering life. I mean, we talk about everything. The thing that we talk the least about is how to cut hair. We talk about the principles of life, the principles of a barber, you know? So that's how I met Chris, and neither one of us have turned loose of the relationship, and it's one of my favorite relationships that I have outside of my immediate family.
Okay, I can kind of see why you got addicted to drugs, because it seems like once you get onto a road, there's no stopping you. It's like tunnel vision, I've got to get it. So the thing is, if you had found barbering or in my opinion, anything in your life with this same kind of razor kind of focus, sharp focus on what you want, the world could have been your oyster, but you've chosen barbering. But yeah, I can quite...
I think barbering chose me.
Okay. Okay, so you've got this big thing about gaining clients. What's your philosophy on gaining clients, and what are some of the methods that you've chosen to assist you in finding clients?
Client acquisition and retention is important to me because obviously if you don't have clients in your chair, you're not going to be able to make money. You're not going to be able to be successful in this industry. Moving on from mentorship, right? Listening to people and doing what you're told. They told me to book appointments, right? When I was in school, they told me to cut hair for free. It's important to me because everything that I did is so simple and so basic in nature. There is nothing that's extraordinary about the things that I've done except for the ambition, the passion, and the willingness to put my time into it. That's what's extra. That's what's the hard work. But as far as anybody can cut hair for free. When you're in school, you can cut hair for free. When you have free time, cut hair for free. You can get a Facebook account. You can offer free haircuts. You can make contributions. You can go to a halfway house and you can cut hair. You can make contributions into your community. You can post on social media accounts. Anybody can do this, but for some reason, people are not willing to do it. Being in this industry, being licensed for less than 1 year, I've been cutting hair for a total of 2 years. My schedule is booked 80 to 90% all of the time. I have doubled the goals that I had for myself. When I was coming out of school, I didn't set the bar high enough because the things that people told me to do, I did them, and I didn't realize how successful I was going to be as far as obtaining and retaining clients. Again, if you don't have passion or ambition, or you're not serious, if you want to make money off of the industry, you're probably going to have to work harder. But if you really love and you're passionate about what's going on in the industry, it's going to be easier for you because you're not going to have to try so hard. You're actually going to care about your clients. You're going to care about the well-being of the people. You're going to want to form the relationships. And yeah, giving them a nice haircut is a bonus. But our industry is centered on the relationships that we build with our clientele. If I cut your hair for free for a year because I'm in school, you have vested your time in me being successful. So naturally, when I make it licensed and I go to a barber shop, who else are you going to want to spend your money with?
That's right. Okay, so it's all about reciprocity, so to speak. All right, and you've got your own YouTube channel. Tell me what you preach on this YouTube channel, what you teach, because I know that it's all about teaching and sharing for you.
Absolutely.
And what it's called.
Yes. The name of my YouTube is Clean Cuts with a Z. It's with a Z because Clean Cuts with an S was already taken. So when I got that seed, when my son planted that seed inside me that I knew I was going to be a barber, I made a video. I didn't even own clippers. And I knew because I'd watched other barber students who had documented their journey. That was where I found the value. I said, I'm going to start now. I don't even have clippers. So my first video is of me saying, I'm going to be a barber. Watch this. And I continued and I documented and I vlogged my entire experience through barber school. I did reviews on all the clippers and all the tools that I saw. The content that I needed when I was in a certain place was the content that I produced. And I've continued to do that. And so for the value in my channel is transparency. If a barber is wanting to know how do you become successful, I try my best to document my victories as well as my failures. I document the process of what it takes. I document the hard work. I document the time away from my wife, kids, and family. I document the grunt work and the labor of scrubbing the rust off of my chairs that are going to go in my barber shop. You know, because a lot of people, they share the glory, but they don't share the story. And so it's so important for me to feel like, what do I do? Like, you can tell me what to do, but show me what to do. What can I do with my hands, my feet, and my body right now in this moment that's going to help me become successful? And that's the information that I try to share with students and barbers who have been licensed alike. Because I get feedback from both sides saying things like, this has been a huge inspiration, I'm so grateful for this stuff, and that's really the motivation because I know that it's working. People are finding the value, it's helping them to become successful, to be licensed barbers. and I took away from society for so long, then I have an obligation to contribute back into it. I want to help people be successful. I want to add value to people's lives, and this is the platform that God gave me to do it on.
Okay, talking about tribulations, what were some of your tribulations aside from maybe wanting to go back to take drugs?
Are you talking about with
Barbering, with your barbering journey?
when I was going to barber school? I had to go full-time, and my wife worked full-time. So there's a lot of time away from my wife and my kids while I went to school. Currently, there's tribulations. I'm in Orlando, Florida. My wife wants to come to Orlando, Florida, but she works at a bank. So she can't take off right now. We have a vacation scheduled, which is great, but there's a lot of balance. There's so much of my time that is dedicated to my career into this industry, creating products, developing products, enhancing services, raising up the value of my services so that I can support my family, that sometimes the work and life balance can become difficult. So I try my best to make my life and my work the same thing. But to be honest, it really has been difficult.
Okay, so you've been in the industry for 2 years. Already you've developed your own beard oil. Tell me what's different about your beard oil from what you've experienced in the past.
Well, I developed a beard oil when I was in school because I started caring about my hair. I started learning about what was important, how to nurture your hair all over, and I couldn't afford it. I was a full-time student in school and we weren't making enough money, but I needed beard oil because I wanted to have a good beard. So I Googled all the information about how I wanted to make the best beard oil for me, that I could get the qualities that I want. And so I made it, created it, and I had an abundance of overstock. And I gave it to all my friends at barber school. I got a lot of really good feedback on the beard oil. And then when they ran out, they said that they wanted some more. And so at some point, it's like, yeah, I want to give, but I can't afford to purchase the stuff and then just give beard oil away as much as I would want to. And I talked to my mentor, Christopher, about it, and he said, it's time for you to do this. It's time for you to invest and create your product. It has value. There's a demand for it. You should create it, charge a reasonable price for it, and let's let it grow. So I did. I put it in a basic bottle with a basic label, and I started selling it for like $8, $9 a piece. And it kept going and going and going. And then as my following grew, and as my YouTube channel grew, and as the support grew, people wanted the product. And now it's to a point to where I'm looking at large-scale manufacturing because I still make it in my kitchen. I still make it with my hands. I still mix it in a blender, and I still produce all of it by myself. And I can't advertise for it because the demand is currently so high that I can't produce it. I can't commit to giving you a wholesale price and giving you 50 bottles a month because that takes more time, and I don't have that time. So I'm currently in the process of developing a distribution platform to where I can get it out without compromising the integrity of the ingredients, because that's what makes it different. It's all essential oils, it's all natural oils, so that way it can actually be absorbed by your beard. And it takes care of the most important part of your beard, which is the skin and the follicle that the hair grows out of. So that was the focus.
So Tyler, you've been in the industry for a very short period, 2 years. You're arguably one of the biggest trade shows come beauty shows in the entire world. How did you find yourself here, and what are you doing? I know you're on a stage. Tell me how you got here.
Mentorship, developing relationships, passion for this industry, a God-given desire to just want to breathe everything barbering. I pursue it. A lot of hard work, a lot of time invested, a lot of dedication, and a willingness to step outside of my comfort zone. I try a lot of stuff that's not popular in my hometown, a lot of new techniques. I want to learn what's new because there's a void inside of me for information in this industry that can never be filled locally. I have to step outside of the box. I have to go to the hair shows. I have to be in the competitions. When I get into a barber competition, I have zero expectation of winning. It's not about winning. It's about feeding that thing inside me that just wants to be a part and completely enmeshed in everything that has to do with the barber industry. So just that same relentless pursuit of just wanting to be involved, it's landed me here. And it's really amazing. I I don't even think it's all soaked in yet, that I'm at the Premier Orlando, that I've been a platform barber at the Tomb 45 booth. It's been amazing. It really has. I don't know when it's going to sink in.
Okay, and what would you pass on to someone who's in your position that wanted to become a barber? What would be your words of advice to them in closing?
If you want to become a barber, I would suggest that you find barbers, that you go to barbershops, look at what barbers do. Look at YouTube videos, make sure that it's what you want to do. And if you can see that you continue to be ambitious and you continue to aspire to be a barber, then ask somebody to show you how. And when they show you how, do what they show you to do. If you want to be a barber and you don't know how to be a barber, you don't just wake up one day and know how to be a barber. You have to do something that you haven't done before. If you want to see something you've never seen before, you'll have to go somewhere you've never gone before. So get a mentor, develop relationships, find people who have been successful and do what they do. And if the first person, the second person, the third person you reach out to doesn't reach back, keep going. Because if you don't continue to reach out, then you can guarantee that you're never going to find that relationship. So I would suggest that you focus on the relationships, focus on the people, and focus on yourself. Character first, then business.
Tyler Trotter, thank you ever so much for sharing those words of wisdom. They resonated with me, and I'm sure they'll resonate with people that were in the situation that you were in and that want to aspire to where you are now. So, I salute you. Carry on doing what you're doing, and I can see you being right up there with the likes of Chris Busio and 360 GZ in your YouTube journey, and both your empire building and your barbershop, which you're soon to open, I believe.
Yes, sir. My lease is signed for July 1st. It could be August of 2017, but we'll see. Clean Cut Grooming Lounge is coming to Knoxville, Tennessee. I'm very excited about the brand. I'm very excited just about everything. I'm excited about shop ownership, and so thank you very much. It's been a privilege. I absolutely love meeting you, and I couldn't think of a better person I'd rather do an interview with.
Thank you very much. I feel honored myself. Thank you.